Welcome back to part 2 of I Catch Killers with our guest Spanian. If you listen to part 1, you've got a sense of what a complex character he is. What would you expect from a man who is described as a viral hip-hop star caught in a vicious vortex of crime, violence, incarceration and drug addiction before emerging as an artist, which gave way to his new life new meaning and purpose? I'll just do that. I'll do that again so you can fuck up and do it again.
I'll do it plenty.
Okay. Welcome back to part 2 of I Catch Killers with our guest Spanian. If you listened to part 1, you would have got a sense of the complex character Spanian is. What would you expect from a man who is described as a viral hip-hop star caught in a vicious vortex of crime, violence and incarceration, along with drug addiction, before he emerged as an artist, which gave way to his new life and purpose and probably saved his life? Welcome back.
How are ya?
Okay, well, let's. I think when we left in part 1, we had you in jail. Let's put you back in jail for a bit.
Let's go.
There was one of your stories that you were telling on. I think it was one of your Hood Logic videos. You told a story of a prison fight. I think in your words, you described it as one of the maddest prison fights, and it was in the shower.
All right, yeah, my Hood talk, yep.
Yep. Do you want to take us through that? Because I think, the public and everyone looks at prisons and whenever shit goes down, it seems to be in the shower. And this was actually a fight in the shower. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, I'll give you the rundown of that. So, me and one of the Koori boys are in the showers, having shower. You know, I jumped out the shower, right? We didn't know the boys of the wing that we just went to. We just moved there recently. And I jumped out the shower. He actually stayed in the shower, got my back turned. I'm over in the corner, drying myself off, butt naked. And we found me knowing someone else who's trying to be a hero in the wing had decided to start on the young fella that I was with. He was only 19, another Koori lad from Redfern, only 19, 20 years old. And he panicked. So this bloke went up to him in the shower and for whatever reason, no reason really, he's trying to make a name for himself. And so my mate had known, because I was a good fighter at that stage, training every day and, doing all the MMA moves that you see, trying our best. And he'd speared him off to me. So he'd thrown off, he didn't want a bar of it. So he'd gone I don't know what you talk. So matey had gone up to him apparently and said, I noticed you've been looking at me. What do you think? You think you're mad? This same old rubbish yarn that you hear. And he'd speed it. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about, but go talk to Spanian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had known none of this had happened. So I turn around. I get tapped on the back. I turn around. This bloke doesn't know what I'm about. He's making a big mistake, I think it's his first time in jail. Just doesn't understand at that point that people can cave your head in. So he's still living his bravado, And he tapped on. He goes, I just talked to your mate. I noticed there's sort of an issue with you two. He said it like he was some cool bad guy from a movie. In a real relaxed way. I looked at him, I looked at my mate, and my mate's over in the shower still and just shrugs his shoulders I don't know what he's talking about. And then I just thought, at that moment, I thought, I'm going to cave this bloke's head in.
Yeah.
So he was with a couple of his mates on the sly. So I'm in thongs, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing you wear. So thongs, you're not going to get barefoot, you catch tinea. Before I'd even turned my head back to look at him, I'd slightly kicked my thongs off. And I just turned around and just started wailing him. And left hook, straight right, left hook, and he was knocked out. He was fully knocked out.
Yeah.
His mates come over. He was on the floor asleep. His mates come over all right, stop, that's it. Look at him. We're fuck, he's saying fuck, what did you do to him?
Yeah.
I turned to his mates and I said what's wrong with this bloke? Pull him up. He's talking absolute shit. And they're going, sorry, Spanian, he's just talking shit, And so I had a little yarn with them, in astonishment, have a go at this bloke, starting on us for nothing. And he'd woken up real quick and pulled the knife out. So the knife was a spike that was the old beds, before they replaced them all, were made of they were steel bars in a gridded fashion. So if you can somehow struggle to get a steel bar off, and you can sharpen that up to be a spike, Maybe it's about the thickness of a pencil.
Yeah. So
it's not so thin it's going to go straight through you, but it's sort of like blunt force stabs. These spikes not going to go straight through your heart or something, but it's going to cut you open, And he pulled out one of them, and So I started grabbing him, wrestling him around because I was like doing jiu-jitsu all the time. And I learned at that point that jiu-jitsu is not good when someone's got a knife in their hand. So I got stabbed a couple of times. He pushed it into my stomach, stabbed me in the jaw. And I jumped back. I thought, fuck this. I'm not getting stabbed anymore wrestling him. I'm just going to bash this bloke on my feet, keep my distance. Yeah. I'm full naked, blood everywhere. A lot of blood, like squirting from my jaw. I don't
like a puncture wound.
Like a puncture wound in my jaw. It was like pulsing out.
Yeah.
Didn't hit an artery or nothing, but just pouring out. And so I'm covered in blood all over the floor. I'm slipping in blood. And I faced off with him. I go, come on, let's go. And he's there, like, stance, ready to stab me. I'm waiting for him to swing his blade and counter.
Yeah.
I've done that a couple times. On the second time I'd done it, he dropped the blade from my hit. I picked up the blade, I bent it, which was a new thing for me. I had a newfound confidence. Usually, like, I love blades. I picked up his own blade. This is no word of a lie. I tell people this. I've got members of my family who think this is a lie. But there's people there that witness that, I swear to God, I picked up his blade, I bent it, and he started running. So he's scared now. He's seen what I can do. Like, he can't touch me, and he's getting smacked left, right. He started running, and I pegged it, and I hit him in the back of the head with his own blade. I just remember this little noise come out, like, oh, like that. But I was so angry. You can imagine how angry I was. So I tracked him down, and I smashed him all over the showers, choked him to sleep, woke up again, kept bashing. I just went on for it for about 2 minutes. I bashed him for, and then he'd like, that's it. Yeah, it's a good fight.
And this is jail life. That's raw. That's what goes on in there.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And like the option, you don't have the option of backing down, or
I do. I could have easily then said, he wasn't at the point. So there was nothing that had happened. There were no dramas. Yeah. So he wasn't at the point where he was going to do something to me. He was at the point in his mind. He thought that he's just going to assert his authority by scaring people.
Yeah.
So that's all he was trying to do. So if I had said to him at that point, nah, bro, look, I'm not looking at you. You're tripping.
He
would have just like backed off. He would have said,
look, I'm a tough guy. I've just
that's his victory. Yeah. So he would have said to me, oh, okay, I thought you were looking at me.
Yeah.
And then we would have walked off. There would have been no fight. But in my eyes, he was a peasant. Maybe in the world he comes from, which is a very different world from mine, he was a somebody. Yeah. Somebody that he was in for doing drive-bys and that rubbish. They shoot each other's letterboxes and they think they're tough. Like, it's absolute rubbish. So in his little world, he was a somebody. In my world, he's an absolute nobody. You got to understand that. It's a lot of things that I try to tell a lot of people don't know. People who are somebody outside are usually nobody in prison. And people who are somebody in prison are usually nobody outside.
Right, that's interesting. Expand on that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Outside, a lot of stuff relies on reputation. The money you make, the people you know, like the name of your family. Yeah. This is how it works on the outside. The weapons you have, stuff like that. Yeah. It's all gone on the inside. Right. It's all gone on the inside. Like you're nothing. Like I seen like and vice versa. Yeah. In the inside, it's completely dependent on the ferocity of your heart and your fighting skill. Mm. And you find a lot of these people with a lot of big names that have a lot of money. Famous drug dealers with Lamborghinis and 17 guns, and they just don't have that ferocity, and they can't fight. And in jail, that's everything.
That carries the weight.
Everything.
If you can fight.
Yeah, that's everything. Yeah. Like your ferocity, not just your fighting skill, but your ferocity, your willingness to stab somebody over anything. And a lot of those people don't have that in them. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not going to sit here and talk names and or even nashos or anything, but I seen like people who are like famous sort of criminals in the Sydney world get absolutely bashed over all around the prison yard by cutting their way in line for the phone by a nobody from a country town who's locked up for being drunk in the street. Yeah. Like that's reality. And the vice versa too. I've been in yards. And I'm talking Sydney jails. I'm not talking soft jails. Yeah. I've been in yards at Parkley, MRRC, where there are intimidating figures, all right, people who are sort of like telling other people what to do in the pod. Yeah. And I will get out 6 months later and I will see this person really the shell of a man. I will see him living homeless down the Matthew Talbot hostel, walking around with dirty clothes on, looking at the floor. Yeah. just an absolute nobody, somebody that you'd like avoid because you'd think they'd smelt.
But
and in prison,
that was
they're
the
the shit.
environment. Did you see people, and I've seen people, and people I know, people who've been close to me, but become institutionalized?
Definitely, I have a different meaning of being institutionalized to what most people have. Most people say that there's like the definitive question. It's like, do you want to go home? And it's like, if you have to say, no, I love jail, then you're institutionalized.
Right.
And it's like, if you ask someone, do you want to go home? And they say, of course I fucking do. Fuck jail.
Yeah.
Then, oh, well, you're not institutionalized. That's not as simple as that. I've seen people who have been in for 28 years who know nothing about jail, who have never worked, who are completely comfortable in jail. It's like they don't even know they're in jail.
Yeah.
They just do not fit
That's
in on
their
the
world.
outside. That's their world. And this is my life to an extent. If you ask them, do you want to go home now? They will run. They will love to go home. That doesn't mean they're not institutionalized. I see institutionalized as you developing your mannerisms to fit in with an institution, and you can't get rid of it. And your attitude is that what lets you survive in an institution, and it's gone too far that you can't adapt to any other mannerisms or attitude. That's what institutionalized is. It's not a simple question like, you love jail? Yes, I'm staying here. Okay, you're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, it's mostly when you ask that question to the boys who have been in jail a long time, it's mostly the Johnny-come-latelys who will answer that way. It's mostly the boys who have done a year or two of jail. And if you say, do you want to go home? They'll be like, I don't give a fuck. I love jail.
Yeah.
And anyone who's like over jail, like institutionalized or not, like they'll run, they'll dance to get out.
In your book, and it was quite interesting, there was a definite shift when you were doing jail time easy, but the last 2 years, and you've been out, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, almost 5 years.
The last 2 years you really struggled with because you wanted out.
Yeah.
And so talk us your mindset when you were happy in jail. That was just the price you paid for doing the crimes?
Yep. It's much like the moment I had when I gave up drugs in 2007, and that moment happened again with the lifestyle in general in maybe 2015.
Yeah.
I can't explain why. It's maybe a divine moment. I really don't know, but it's like all of a sudden the veil's lifted off. And I see things for what they are.
What stage was it that I picked up in your book? There was at that point where you've just seen yourself in the mirror.
So that was 2007.
And that was the drugs. And
that was drugs, yeah.
You're gone, I'm just becoming a junkie. Look at me. I thought I had my shit together and I'm...
Yeah, it was like in one moment, it's like, so I have this perspective on myself and where I'm from, and I just seen myself as so good looking, like I'm a cool kid. We make the money, we got this name, and like I'm with the boys in jail, and we're all cool, and everything's mad, and like everyone respects us, and look how hard, like we're killing it, like we're doing years jail. Like I just seen that, and drugs was nothing, this and that, and do you want me to tell you like in detail the moment it happened?
Yeah.
Right. So I was in Junee in 2007 in a 1-out cell, well into my drug addiction. Many years on heroin, injecting. I was on the buprenorphine program, so I spent that entire sentence completely off my face from buprenorphine. Completely comfortable and happy with who I was, and I don't know why. One day, I think it was September 2007, I walked towards the PlayStation, which was on the other side of my cell, and I looked in the mirror. I got a glimpse of myself in the mirror, little shaving mirror, and I took a double take, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's comparable to a psychosis. I looked and I seen myself as a completely different person. I seen myself as, it's like I seen the truth. I looked and it was the first time in my life I seen an absolutely putrid looking, ugly junkie.
Yeah.
And I was like shocked. I was like, what
just
the
all your bullshit stripped away.
It was all gone away. It was all gone away. And I seen it from this just a completely unbiased, fresh perspective. And I seen it, and I spent that night hours in the mirror looking at my own face, touching my face. And in that moment, I was thinking it was like I seen everything for what it was. I seen my culture, I seen my ancestors, I seen everything. I seen myself as just a shame and embarrassment to anything that my ancestors have done, what people as humans have gone through in life and what I am. And I seen myself as just some scumbag who is really confused, who is ugly and skinny and just sick, sitting in a prison cell in the middle of the bush, surrounded by scumbags who all think we're cool and we're embarrassments.
Yeah.
I seen all that in one moment, and it never left me.
That's pretty heavy.
It was crazy. It was it's either I had a psychosis or it was God. There's no in between.
Yeah.
It's up to you to decide which one it was. But yeah, so I seen all of that in that moment, and it didn't go. It didn't go. I woke up the next morning, and I walked out of my cell, and all the boys converged in our unit, sat at the tables, play chess, play cards. Would have dove at a table, thinking this life's great. And I looked at all of those people who were my close mates in the exact same way. I just seen a bunch of chats, a bunch of losers. I really did. And that's how and I said on that moment, right at that moment, right in that morning, I told the boys, I said, listen, I'm giving everything up. It was on that moment, and they thought I was tripping.
Yeah.
Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. And I gave away all my cigarettes. I went to my little stash in my cell where I keep my contraband syringes.
Yeah.
Gave them away, gave the little stores of drugs I had away. They were more than happy to take it, even though they thought I was tripping. They were like saying to me, are you sure you want to do this? But at the same time, love getting all the stuff. And then it come 11 o'clock where they call me for my buprenorphine at the clinic. Yeah. If I don't get this bupe, I'm going to be sick as hell. Yeah. I said no. I said no for 3 consecutive days, so I was officially kicked off it. And I sat there for 2-3 weeks, sick, couldn't leave the bed, and loved it. Never used drugs since.
Yeah, that's amazing that you hit that point where you've just switched.
Yeah.
And you say whether it was God or a premonition or whatever it was, whatever it did, it kicked in and did some good for you.
Yeah.
But that got you off the heroin, and I think if I'm my reading of the book, you're not saying I'm not going to be a criminal.
Oh, not at all.
Okay, so this is I love life compared to Spanian, because this is your mindset.
Oh,
it's
drug
incredible.
use and criminality for me are two completely separate entities.
So it wasn't I'm going to clean my act up completely. I'm just going to get the drugs shit out of my life, and I'm going to be a better criminal.
Better, yeah. So a lot of the enthusiasm about getting off drugs was how good of a criminal I could be. I was always on the side of the fence that was what you'd see as the sadder side of crime, the not glamorous side of crime.
Yeah.
You know, gutter people.
Yeah.
I'd spent my whole life. I was like a really good-looking kid. There were points in my life where, like, my family wanted to get to me into modelling, and girls loved me and that, and I gave that away as a kid. So I was an ugly teenager, and I just thought, like, I've made all this money. I steal all these things. I give it to some other person. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Who are these people taking my money? What kind of life do they live? Like, I want to be on the other side of that. So I made it my thing that through crime and through leveling up of crime, that I'm going to make myself into the best looking, the most muscly, the richest, most glamour criminal that I could be.
So you're going for the glamour of the crime.
Yeah, I want to live.
I want the hot ladies, the fast cars, and
that's it. Yeah, you live in massage parlors. You got nice cars.
Yeah.
That type of that cliche that you think of. More like the underbelly criminals that you see, the TV ones. And that was my mission. So I got out in a year after that in 2008, but I had forgot that stabbing people is. Doesn't fall into line with being a rich criminal. So the day I got out, I stabbed someone. Stabbed him within a few hours of getting out. Another participant.
I've got to ask you about this one. But again, you'll have an explanation from your point. That was in relation to an argument you had over a phone when you were in prison 8 months before, to a bloke you didn't even really know or knew on the peripheral. And
not at all.
And he said something to you, and you said something to him, and you said, "I'm going to kill you."
Yep.
And then 8 months, you're on a new direction in your life of crime, but you had to fulfil what you said.
Oh yeah, I didn't let it go. Like, all jokes aside, I'm not into talking myself up. If you find that the things I say I mostly, like, I laugh about things, and I mostly put the way that I live down. Yeah. I don't put it up. I'm not here to prove that I'm a tough guy, at all.
Yeah.
All right. But if I said that I was going to kill you, I would try and kill you.
Yeah.
And that was something that made me known to my area. Like, I will not fuck around. Stabbing somebody is nothing. If we get into an argument, even if you bash me, I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
Like that's how I was. So yeah, I told, and I still had that mentality.
Yeah.
I told him I was gonna kill him. I didn't say stab. So I thought I'd go do that the day I get out,
Yeah.
and I done that. And he wasn't as tough as criminal as I thought he was. So there was no issue for him to tell the police that I stabbed him.
Right.
You see, in the criminal world, we just rely on each other, not telling the police
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
You know, because it's like the rule. Apparently, you got to follow. Not many do. So I just thought I'll stab him. He's not going to tell the police. He'll
Yeah.
be sweet. Stabbed him in the neck. Maybe that was a bit too far, but anyway, he told the police, and I was on the run that day.
Yeah.
So I spent another 5 or 6 days hiding under like balconies and stuff, and then got arrested. So that put my plans of being this glamour criminal off for another 3.5 years.
Do you get the shits with yourself, like when you've been inside and you've only been out that long, or what? I'm trying to get the.
That time I was a little annoyed, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was clear-minded. I wasn't on drugs. So that time I was a bit upset.
Yeah.
Not that like I'd lost my freedoms, but that I couldn't achieve all the cool stuff that I was about to achieve.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was more like that perspective. But yeah, definitely that time I was spewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was spewing. Went back, charged for attempted murder. Some technicality things. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I got a plea bargain for. Oh no, I had not mistrial, hung jury. So I got a hung jury, got it down to recklessly wound, gave me 3.5 years. The whole 3.5 years, I'm still just every night fantasizing to live this life. And I went out, got out 3.5 years later, so like end of 2011, and went and done it.
Right.
Yeah, and become a heroin addict, heroin dealer. Started selling heroin and cocaine on a complete mission to be the biggest. I started a very big drug run. Started out slowly. Ended up being really big. Had multiple people employed as runners, as deal makers, stuff like that. And a lot of money come, and I fulfilled everything that I wanted to fulfill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did that go for you? Like how long did that
All right,
lifestyle last?
I was out that time for a total of 10 months. Maybe 6 of those months was the high life.
Yeah. Relationship? Did you get in the relationship?
I did have a relationship with a girl, and she fell pregnant.
Right.
And my son was born after I got arrested. So he was born while I was in custody. I got out when he was 5 years old. Yeah. So it's probably the worst mistake of my life.
Yeah.
The first time in my life I feel like sad about something.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got arrested because I was just completely careless. We started out as trying our best to do the whole don't talk on the phone thing, don't even use a code because codes get deciphered. You know, that whole thing.
That always goes out the window, doesn't it?
Then we started using
You just
codes.
whisper when you talk on
That's
the phone.
it. Then it ended up using codes, and even that got a bit annoying. So then we're just blasé.
Yeah.
It's just like, how long are we going to stay
Because the bloke
out?
you talk, I've heard it so much. The bloke at the other end, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yes, it gets annoying.
Oh, fuck, I'll meet you at the service station. Yeah, like that type of thing. But,
Yeah.
And there's, in the reading of the book, it almost like you became blasé and a little bit of arrogance about it. You had the money and all that, and look at me.
Yeah.
And, you didn't, make sure you covered your tracks.
No, not at all. There's no regard for staying out. I'd done what I achieved to do, and I didn't know any other life. Like, my life was jail. It was a natural part of my life.
But going inside when your lady got pregnant, that must have been hard because you didn't, you weren't a free man for the first couple of years of your child's life.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. It was the first time a sentence was ever hard. It was my last sentence.
Yeah.
It's the first time it was ever hard. Missing the birth of my first child. At that time, because when I first got in, it wasn't hard initially. I was still in the mind state of like, this is me.
Yeah.
Plenty of the boys before have got kids. Like, it's a normal part of being a prisoner. Everyone misses their kid's birth. Excuse me. Everyone misses their kid's birth. Everyone doesn't.
Yeah.
All the boys don't know their kids. No one raises their kids. Like, that's the world I come from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the start it wasn't, but like you said before, a few years in, and it just, I did have another one of those moments. It's like, not as intense as the drug moment, but very similar. And it was like, what's going on? Like, what am I? What else is there for me to do? Like, what am I out to do? Have I not done it? Like, do I have to get arrested for murder and then I can retire? Like, where else do I go?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Like, you're upping the ante each time. And
Yeah,
where does this end? All right, I'm doing 25 years for a murder.
That's it.
Yeah.
I went from right at the bottom to right to the top. It's like, what am I doing now? Do I get back out and I just repeat something? It's like, this life's done. Do you know what I mean? I had no idea what I was going to do outside. Never worked a job, no education, still to this day. Had no concept of what Australian rap was. I always rapped as a hobby. Didn't know there was a scene for Australian rap, and definitely didn't plan anything like what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You met a bloke in there, Spinner, I think is his name, and you didn't put much down to it, but he was that sort of evolved into something that you did with your music after you got out. But before we talk about that, did you make the decision in prison that this is it, I'm never coming back? Because I think you're telling your mates inside,
I'm
not coming back. And
I did
thinking,
make that decision.
what trip is he on now?
I did make that decision. Whether I 100% believed it or not, I didn't 100% believe it. But it was the first time in my life that I said anything along the lines of, I'm not going to do crime. It's when I make a decision, I make the decision. There's like not even a pretext to it. It's like when I got off drugs. It was my first attempt to get off drugs. A minute before, I had never even had that thought in my life. Had the thought I'd done it. It's the same as crime. Never ever in my life. Even those times I got out for a day or I got out for 2 weeks and I was upset, never did I ever once think, maybe I should stop. Until that moment, and then that's it. Here we are.
And so how did you prepare yourself the last couple of years in jail if you were going to make a genuine attempt?
I didn't prepare myself. Didn't at all. And I know what you mean. Like, did I make some attempts at educational tickets to do something? Some plans? I have no idea. I had no idea what I was going to do in the world, and really doubt my capabilities to do any of that official stuff. And
because the reality is you hadn't had a job at that stage. So when it was interesting, I've heard that comment before that you weren't a citizen. I never paid taxes. I wasn't. I was an outlaw.
I've never
basically.
even had ID.
So,
like, for example, when I was out before that, when I was living that high life, I had multiple cars, multiple motorbikes, and people say, like, oh, were you racing around? It's like, no, I was catching taxis. They said, well, didn't you have your license? I said, I didn't even have a birth certificate. Like,
you were an outlaw.
Completely off the,
So when you walked out of jail the last time, 4 or 5 years ago, what did you do? Just tell us how you turned your life around, because you have turned your life around, and the fact that you've stayed out so long is pretty telling.
So I had no idea what I was going to do. I just had it in my head, just don't do crime. That's it. Just don't do crime. When I got out, it was the first time in my life I was on Centrelink ever. So never had like those Centrelink payments or anything like that. Knew nothing about it. But this time it's like, because I was always had my own money, thieving and stuff. So it's like, all right, like I've got to do this Centrelink thing. So I went to Centrelink, and they gave me my $250 a week, and and like I lived like that on Centrelink for like a year. And just like not knowing what to do, like lost in the world. And funny enough, I and still right now to this day equally as lost. And that's a freaky thing for people to hear. Like, people got no idea of, like, I just got no idea what to do in this world. And that's why, like, that what's going on with me being this person that I am, and the money that I'm getting from it, I just see it as something that's fallen into my lap, and it's just like a gift. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like it's like God can see that I just put in this effort. And even though, like, I'm a really lonely person, right? If you've watched my internet videos, you would have seen, like, I don't hang around with friends. I don't go out. Still to this day, I've never, legit, you're not going to believe this, I've never been to a birthday party, funeral, wedding, nothing. There's
something, and it brings me to, and I made a note of it from your book, because I thought it's pretty heavy, but very honest too. And I'll read it out and we'll talk more on it. But I've just got under the headings of, reflections on life, and this is an extract from your book. Even though I've been a free man for 4 years now, I spent so long in prison that it's become my entire persona, and I can't get rid of it. I'm antisocial and completely non-compliant with the outside world. I have no life experience. I haven't lived with my family for 20 years. I have no education. I've never worked a day in my life because I can't have a boss who tells me what to do. Because in jail, that means you've been put on the gronk and you have to bash them. I've never been to a wedding. I've never been to a funeral. And I'm just a lonely, confused kid who grew up in a cage. I still don't like being around people. Today, people in the street know me, but I have no friends. I read that and I made a note of it because it's pretty heavy and a pretty intense reflection on where you're at now. So, and that's the type of thing that you're talking about.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. It shocks a lot of people to hear that, especially when people hear me talk and they hear the way I talk. Yeah. And to then hear that I'm not somebody who even talks to people. Yeah. Like I spent yesterday, the day before, and probably the rest of the day is just like walking around by myself. Yeah. And because of your public recognition now, people see you Spanian. Yep. You must be doing this. You must be out partying. You must be. Oh yeah. That's what they expect. Yeah. And that's because of what you've experienced, isn't it? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's. I don't know. I guess there's so many years just by yourself in the yard, and I just find that really hard and uncomfortable talking to people in. This is the thing. If I have an objective, I can talk all day. I could do this podcast for another 3 hours. You just have to pour me another drink, you know what I mean? And by that, I don't mean alcohol. We're drinking a soft drink. I don't drink or anything like that. But if you shut the mics off and you turn the cameras off and you try to small talk to me, I'll be polite and just look at the floor. Yeah. And that's not personal to you. That's everyone. I understand where you're coming from, and I think I share a little bit of that too. I know exactly where you're coming from. You sort of have your own time. You're caught up in your own thoughts. I certainly went from an environment where I was a cop, and then all of a sudden that was taken away from me. You were on the other side, but that's taken away from you, and it changes you. And you think, well, do I want to make small talk? Yeah. I'm not good on small talk. It's quite ironic. We're both doing podcasts now. Yeah, true way. But we don't like communicating. That's right. Maybe we just sit here and stare at each other. But getting into the music, how did that play out? So like you mentioned the bloke before, Spinner. Yeah. Just to me, it was just a random bloke. Often when I'd rap in the yard, which wasn't a lot, but often when I'd rap in the yard, boys would say I was a really good rapper, right? Yeah. Some deep technical lyrics that I had. And so boys would always make the comment, far out, you're so good, you should go out and rap, you're the best. Just rubbish comments that lead nowhere. Happened for years. He said it. He put a bit more into it. It's like, I'm part of the outside rap scene. Like,
this was Spinner.
This was Spinner. Inside. Yeah, and it's like it's like getting real big now. You don't understand. Yeah. Aussie kids actually like Aussie rap now. I'm like, all right, whatever. Didn't even remember him. A few years later, I got out. Yeah. And I had a message request on Facebook. Only just learning how to use Facebook, and because we weren't friends, I looked in my request folder. It's him. He goes, Spanian, I don't know if you remember me, but rap's going really big now, and I tell everyone about you. So I'm thinking, but like, what are you going on about? He verbaled me to meet him. It took a few days verbally. I met him, and he showed me this whole world of this whole subculture of Australian rap and their fans, and it all existed on Instagram. Yeah. And he pulled out his Instagram, and he had like 5,000 followers, which at that time, early 2018, was a lot for an Aussie rapper. 5,000, and like it was full of like fans who loved everything he done, and he's going, you can do this, you can be bigger than me, and it's like we can get. And I'm like, what? Like he explained the whole kit and caboodle. Download Instagram. He made me the app, and he told me, record a couple of those songs that you spat me in jail. Yeah. Release them on YouTube, promote them on your Instagram, and watch what happens. And I done it, and
it's taken off.
Yeah. It's like,
did you ever expect that, or
not at all? Yeah. No, not at all. So early 2018, the first time I done it. I remember, to put into perspective of where we're at, I remember it was late 2019, the first time I ever got recognized by 2 people in one day. So at this point I had like 8,000 Instagram followers, which is absolutely nothing. Yeah. So I was in KFC once in Central Station, and someone, like a girl was there. She goes, oh my God, you're Spanian the rapper. I was like, hey, how are you? That was new to me. Yeah. But as she walked away, there was a bloke, and he was like, bro, aren't you Spanian? Please let me get a photo. And it happened 2 times in one go. And that was such a big thing to me that I rang my family members and said, do you know 2 people at the same time recognized me? Yeah. That was late 2019. Yep. And now it's
So it's all pretty recent, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all recent. Yeah. Now it's legitimately like every single place I am.
Yeah.
Nearly everyone knows me. Unless they're under the age of 11 or over the age of 50, 55, they know me.
How are you finding that?
There was when it first started happening about a year ago.
I'll call you the introverted extrovert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it first started happening about a year ago, I started having panic attacks.
Yeah.
So it's still like this to today. It's maybe 40, 50 photos a day. Every street a car will yell out. Every construction site, they'll be yelling out like Spanian or Hurus or Ilche or all these slogans. And it's like, so it's every shopkeeper. But that's fine. But what started getting to me is that people would record me on the sly.
Yeah.
And it would happen all the time. Like nowadays I have to sit consciously in a restaurant. I can't face outside.
They're filming you.
Yeah, I'll be eating. Yeah. And I look up and I'm like halfway through a mouthful and I see someone filming me on the slide. And they see me and they get scared. So they like pretend they're not. And it's just, and it's painful. It's hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it goes from the level of appreciation and fame to just like, it's like you're in the Truman Show. Yeah. And it's a lot to deal with. But I've started to deal with it like,
well, when you look at it, you break it down at the extreme because you've gone from prison life where no one knew you other than the people in the prison, and you've come out to this life that you're almost you're a public figure now. Yeah. And so everyone's got eyes on you.
Yeah.
So
but like I said, if there is just a direct reason to talk to someone, I'm more than happy to. Like in over the past 18 months, and I'm talking 50 a day. I've knocked 2 people back for photos 2 times because I was like in the middle of doing something full urgent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I just can't. I'm sorry. And they're like, all right. But so I'm really good to everyone. And even when they, and a lot of people, I'm not sure how across my content you are, but like I'm, a lot of people find a lot of help with my stuff about getting off drugs. And I talk people out of, glamorizing that criminal ways and the labels.
I think you're bringing up an important point here because if people listen to what you talk about, and because you're such a good communicator, you can talk about your school siege and you're sitting there going, wow, and all that. But there is that other side of it where you are telling people, that this is not the path to go.
Oh,
and
definitely.
I think even in your music, like I've listened to some of your music and there's the aggression that you expect from that style of music. But I noticed that somewhere you were saying that, you're looking at even changing or moving with the music. And I think you referenced Nick Cave, Into My Arms and powerful stuff like that. So do you see that as somewhere that you're going to explore?
Definitely. Like, it's not completely new. So if anybody out there does take the time to actually watch my videos, any of my Hood Logic series, there's 2 different types of videos that I make. It's either factually telling you what we done, with not apologetic at all. Yeah, you could take that the wrong way. Yeah. You can say like, look at you, you think you're good, you think you're a hero talking about scumbag crimes. I hate you. You can take it that way. But that's one side of the videos I make. And the other side of the videos I make is to just tell all the kids the lessons that I've learnt. Yeah. And I do it really well. My inbox is full of youth workers and drug and alcohol workers and drug addicts and that are so thankful for everything that I say. There's rehabs and like youth centers out there that just play my videos for the kids, and it's like we can't even do what you do.
How cool is that? Because I know in your book you were talking about balancing the ledger of I've done some bad and I want to get the good happening. But if you're making difference in people's lives like that, and kids are not. You remember when you were a young punk, you're not going to listen to someone that hasn't got any credibility. Yeah. If you come in as straight,
anyone,
well, you're an extreme. Yeah. But if Straighty 180 comes in and says you can't do that, if you walk in with all your attitude and bravado and say, hey, this is not on, it's not cool to do this. And I
say the truth, like I say the things that a lot of other people are scared to say. Like I say, I'm everything that, if you want to be a criminal, I'm everything that you can possibly be in this life. It is me. Yeah. I like, you know what I mean? I tell them straight, like, about how I say how like scum. I talk it down so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not scared to say anything about anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I talk down all this gang stuff, and joining a gang and just being an absolute gronk, and gangs in jail and like all these people fighting in parks over their suburbs. I just tell them straight.
Yeah.
I say, use it jokes.
Yeah.
Like at least you want to be a criminal. Look, and I say, look, I'm not a police officer.
Yeah.
I'm not here to say don't be a criminal.
Yeah.
But I will tell you the truth about every aspect of criminality and what it leads and what it gives in your life. And it's a joke.
Well, I think it's an important message, and unless someone like yourself is telling it, people aren't going to listen. But I know with that, with your Hood Logic videos, there is usually a message at the end. Yeah, like you'll be talking something and you're thinking, wow, but then you give the disclaimer at the end that look what happened. It wasn't the smartest thing.
Yeah.
What other now writing the book? How was that an experience for you?
That was very, very easy for me because, like, obviously it was written by the author.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like I wrote the book like him, but that would take like 10 years. So it's just a matter of me telling my entire life in extreme, like this podcast times a million.
Yeah.
I can talk all day.
But did you find it was cathartic? Because there's a lot of personal stuff in the book, and I put it out there. It's a good read. I really enjoyed reading it. But if people think you're open here in talking with the podcast, you're just as open in the book. So you don't hold back on much.
Sometimes I'm too open, and they're like,
just shut your mouth sometimes.
Yeah. And the lawyers come in and go, well, why are you saying that? And
shut up.
I'm just telling my life, and they go, look, we'll just leave that one out.
Yeah.
Change that one a bit.
Yeah. But it's out. It's just coming out recently. So you've been doing a bit of the book tour and out speaking to people. And
that's it. Well, it's. I don't know by the time this episode comes out how long it's been out, but it's out today. It's released today, December the 1st, and I'm involved, like getting around. My manager's following me around, saying, "Go
look, I know you're important because you've just got one name. Yeah. Now I haven't even asked that. We're nearly at the end of the podcast. Why are you called Spanian? And it is pretty cool just to have one name.
Yeah. So how'd that come about? Boys' homes. First time I ever went to boys' homes for that siege thing.
Yeah.
When you're not from a popular minority, right? So the popular minorities being Pacific Islander, some form of Arabic, some form of Vietnamese, really, and Koori. So if you're of another minority, if you're Jamaican or like from Denmark or Spain or you're like the only bloke that, you get called by that. So it's like if you're Jamaican, the boys would just say Jamaica. Okay. And if you're Colombian, like I've got a mate named Colombia, because he's Colombian, his name's Jonathan, but it's like Colombia, and then it just sticks. And obviously you can't do that to a Tongan. Yeah, because you're in a prison yard and then like everyone's going to turn around. 10
people will turn around.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're from like an unusual background in that, I'm full-blown Aussie. Yeah. I'm not Spanish in any way. Yeah. So they started out calling me Spaniard because they say, like, because of the way I look. Like, but what national are you? Yeah. And I say, my background is Spanish, Spaniard. So I was that for a couple of years. Then I started to, like, anyone from Spain was Spaniard. Rafael Nadal is Spaniard. The Gladiator is Spaniard. Like, Formula One. And I'm just thinking, like, I go for Australia in sport. I don't have nothing to do with Spain other than the way that I look. Yeah. So I wanted it to sound the same, but just be my own name. So instead of Spaniard, I changed it to Spanian. And that's how it come about.
Yeah, well, and is that, do people call you, because Anthony's, do people call you by your name, or are you accepted you're Spanian now?
My missus calls me Spanian.
Okay.
Yeah. My missus I'm with now calls me, she calls me Span.
Yeah. Okay.
Who calls me Anth? My mum.
If you're in trouble.
Yeah. My mum, my brother.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Okay. And then like if I hear, like legit, if I hear Anthony behind me, I get shivers. It's like, it's a detective. Yeah. If I'm walking in the street and I hear behind me Anthony, that was a cue back in the past to run. Every time you hear Anthony, it's like your shirt's getting grabbed. So no one calls me that.
Okay, that's cool. Another stuff that you're doing, Hood Logic clothing.
Yep.
What's the go with that? Like,
so Hood Logic is that's one of the series. The series where I'm talking about like the crimes I've done. They're Hood talks. Yeah. Right. There's no lessons to be learned in those. Yeah. They're just saying. I'm just saying all the crimes I've been arrested for. Yeah. In a factual way. Hood Logic is the series where I'm painting the criminal life in a way that's the truth. Yeah. Right. And I don't hold back. That's a very popular series, and that's my series that helps everyone. That's what everyone loves it. Sort of like the backbone of what I've become.
Yeah.
So I just thought like, normal hip hop, normal music scene, you do merch drops, trying to get your funds up,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I just thought like, instead of just dropping random merch about random meaningless things like Hood Logic, it's just like I make it into my own clothing line.
Yeah.
People love it, people respect the name. And so yeah, we instead of doing, I just started the own clothing line,
Yeah.
and it has like seasonal drops and does well.
Well, you've really managed to carve a life out for yourself.
Yeah,
in
it's
what
going
you're
good.
doing, and you're doing podcasts as well.
Yep, my
And,
podcast. Yep.
Welcome to the podcast world. It's easier sitting on your side than this, isn't it?
Definitely,
We
yep.
talked about that beforehand.
Yeah.
If we stuff this up, it's my fault, not yours.
That's it, yeah.
But no, so you got so much going on, and I think whether you like it or not, you're a role model
Yeah.
to people. Like people are looking at you. You're an identity.
Yep.
People relate to. What message would you say to people that look at your life and go, "Hey, we can be Spanian"? You got a message? It's a big question, but
Well, I don't think you should go and do all I done to have the same redemption story. Is it worth it? Definitely not. But it's just, I love that. It's like you referred to before, how there was this balance, and we glanced over it.
Yeah.
And I do have, because I'm a religious person, newly religious
Yeah.
person, and I do have a strong belief that I will be judged, and everything that was in the dark will come to light. And
Yeah.
I have a strong fear that this is legit. I have a strong fear that if I don't go out and do good in this world in the ways that I'm capable of,
Yeah.
and I was to die today, I'm very scared. I'm
Right,
very
okay.
scared. Yeah, I'm very scared. There's a lot for me to make up for, and I'm lucky that I have this opportunity that has fallen into my lap. I don't know how. I think it's from my character,
Yeah.
my history. People are very interested into me, and maybe my straight talking, and maybe my music, maybe not. But I have this attention, and I have the straight talking to make a difference, and it's well like documented in my Hood Logic series. It's just like the life's a joke.
Yeah.
The criminal life's a joke.
Yeah.
No, there's no happiness. Like if you get to the point, and happiness is like a pursuit that not a lot of people in society are on. It's not only just criminals.
Yeah.
You'll find that most people, the most successful people, are actually not in a pursuit of happiness. They're in a pursuit of some other thing. But once you get that, and it can't be taught to you. No
Yeah.
one can. I don't care how good I talk. I can't go to a kid and tell him to choose happiness.
Yeah.
He's just going to have no concept of what I'm saying. But once it comes and you see it for what it is, my words are here to tell you strongly, like, there is nothing about crime that brings happiness, and everything that is done in the dark will come to light. And
Yeah.
so everyone should stay conscious of that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's good advice. And how do you find peace in your life now?
It's hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me. Like I said, I'm good at understanding the logic side of things.
Yeah.
Is my soul at rest to the point where I find peace in life? Sort of. I find I'm just happy that I'm not in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well-
even though like I don't do a lot out here.
Yeah.
You know, people may say, some people see what I'm doing as this really big thing. Like, hey, he's got a book, he's got a podcast, he's this and that. Maybe it is big. Maybe it's not. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, you're very reflective in the book towards the end of the book, and you say, "Well, yeah, this might be taken away from me at any time." And I think that's a good attitude to have, because if you hang on to it too much and it's
Yeah.
taken away from you,
Yeah.
if you're not prepared for that, who knows where you head from there?
That's right.
So-
The best looking person, the funniest person in the world has a shelf life.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So making the most of it.
Yeah.
One other thing, and I have in my notes, but this is, as a fellow podcaster, sometimes you miss things that you wanted to ask.
Yeah.
The jail story about the ghost.
Oh,
Now, yeah.
I'm in tune with the ghost world.
Now-
And
Okay.
it's common for people in my family. I've had many experiences with ghosts. Couple audible, couple visual. Which one? There was a couple.
There was one. I think it was Bathurst Jail, and your
Yep.
cellmate, and you were
And the chair got shut. He was hitting my leg,
and
and
you
that.
were curled up on the bed.
Oh,
in
yeah,
a
yeah.
ball,
So that one,
both scared.
we're in the death row cell.
I thought two tough guys in jail.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're cowering in the corner from a ghost.
I always
thought,
tell myself,
yeah.
like, next time a ghost experience happens, like, make the most of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more that I love than to keep my cool and have like an interaction with ghosts to learn about their world and stuff like that. Because I learned that there's certain states that ghosts can be in where you can interact with them. But anyway, on this night, it's easier said than done. So we're in a death row cell at Bathurst, and so this is the trap door was in front of our cell. So up until whenever it was, 1955, they were hanging people at Bathurst, and very haunted, known to be haunted. Multiple stories by everyone. We're in there in. It only ever happened in this cell one time in a good 6 months we're in there, but this ghost that was in there, he just went off. I don't know if it was that time of year or what. He was pacing up and down our cell very clearly, hear his feet. He was hitting our legs. He was punching the door. He cracked the door as hard as he can twice. I'm talking like these doors were like 30 kilo iron doors, and just hit it and it rattled with big power. It was going on for about 5 minutes, and he walked past, and it was like a joke. He was slapping our knees. Yeah. Like there's no mistaking it. It's like as clear as me coming up and hitting your knee. That's how clear it was. And we were absolutely shitting ourselves. We were curled up on his bunk, right up in the corner away from where it was pacing back and forth, and it was still hitting our knees. It was like reaching over the bed and hitting our knees. And it disappeared. Like it stopped. Its feet stopped and everything. 5-10 minutes later, we got our confidence up. I stopped. I let go of him. I let go of my cellmate, and I went and sat like on a plastic seat on the other side of the cell. Yeah. Turned the TV on, and it's like far out. That was crazy. Or out of nowhere, it grabbed my shoulders and started pushing me down into the seat. It wasn't crazy strong. It couldn't stop me from getting up, but there was resistance on my shoulders. Yeah, it was pushing me down. I shit it and instinctively pushed straight back up. The split second that my weight was taken off my plastic, it's like a school chair. Yeah. The second that my weight was taken off the seat, it pegged my chair across the other side of the cell. I'm talking a plastic chair bouncing off the back of the cell and tumbling around, like really powerful ghost. And then I dove straight back into the arms of my cellmate. And so that was a really angry ghost, and that only happened once in that cell.
Well, there was a lot of things I expected reading the book and researching, but I didn't think we'd get a ghost story in there too. But when I was reading it, and the way that you tell the story, like you take you there to that experience. So, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it, and I think people are going to look at this podcast and go, "Well, what's that ex-cop doing and that ex-crook doing, sitting down talking?" But I think it's so important that we get to know. People from different sides, look at things from different perspectives. And I hope people listening to this podcast listen to your honesty and the way that you're telling your story, so they understand and don't just judge and go, "Oh, that bloke committed that crime, therefore he's bad or he's this," and really have a look at it. And congratulations to you turning that around, the bad side, and trying to do some good and the messages that you're getting across. And if people look a little bit deeper at what you're talking about, they'll understand you're not glorifying it. You're explaining what the life's about. So good luck to you in the future. Thank you. Stay strong.
Too easy.
Cheers.
Sweet.